Good morning, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Thursday, the 21st of August. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, great. Let's have a look at ES. Now, I was saying yesterday morning that we didn't have any buy signals on the hourly charts, and we still don't. On ES, we went lower yesterday. We tested the monthly pivot, or came very close to a back test of the monthly pivot. I'm not seeing any obvious reason to make a low here. It's obviously possible that we might, maybe after a retest this low, but that wouldn't set up any positive divergence here either. Although it would set up some on the RTH charts, I think. All right, let's have a look at NQ. Tech has been the strongest on the way down here, and actually this is a very good example of a bull flag breaking down and making the target, because the target would be from here to here, and we've more than made that on the downside. Where is the obvious support? It's here. And it's in about the 22,800 area, and we could yet make that. Yesterday, I'm watching the daily middle bands as support. I did a post on that, in QQQ was the only one which actually traded the whole of yesterday under the daily middle band. I'm thinking this target is potentially open. We will see. All right, RTY still could be a bull flag here, but not a really decent bull flag at this stage. No current positive divergence. The rally yesterday went over the 50 levels, so it's not really setting up the positive divergence at the moment. YM, which has been the strongest from the high so far, is getting down below the weekly pivot now and is pretty close to reaching target. DAX kind of looks like a bull flag forming, support at the monthly pivot, likely to be tested today, and ESTX, which did make the target, although DAX didn't, but ESTX, the target was a retest of the June high. We made that. We've got a little level top, and that's breaking down with the target really, not that far away from the weekly pivot at 54.26, a little below it, probably in about the 54.100 area. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Let's have a look at the hourlies first. Okay, on the hourly chart on Dia, obviously we're seeing some move down on YM overnight, but we already had a breakdown from this little level top here. It's only small, but it's got an interesting target because it gets us down to 445, possible test of this rising support trend line, and also a test of the daily middle band on Dia. This is a nice looking setup, and I mentioned it in the post, and we've still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. Looking at IWM, we didn't have a sell signal fixed here. We are making progress down towards, well, we've already got a wedge which is broken down here, and this didn't confirm as the new rising support. But again, we got a nice looking path formed head and shoulders, path formed head and shoulders or asymmetric double top here, and I'm still liking the downside, and I'm not seeing much reason for this not to be going up. If we retest this low, we could set up a positive divergence on the hourly RSI 14. Okay, looking at the Qs, again, retest the low could set up positive divergence in the hourly RSI 14, watching the possible head and shoulder neckline, or maybe asymmetric double top, but it looks much more like a head and shoulder neckline here, and I've got that in the 55168 area. Looking at SPX, this trend line was still dotted because we never actually made it up to the top trend line, so we've still got this wedge here which is broken down, and this looks like a topping pattern. This could be a head and shoulders forming, this could be an asymmetric double top, and the asymmetric double tops here on SPX and IWM look pretty good, and the one on Dia just looks like a double top. So possible target down here in the 62.12 area. No particular reason to think it would get that low before we see a decent bounce, possibly to make a right shoulder on the QQQ setup. All right, looking at the daily middle bands on Dia, we haven't made a test of it yet, but as I said, that's down in the 445 area, and we've got a little level top which is targeting that, and we may make that target. Looking at SPX, tested the daily middle band, traded some of the day below it, and recovered back over it, but a promising first test, but no breaks so far. Qs, We actually closed on it on Tuesday and spent the whole of the day basically below it and holding as resistance yesterday. This is promising, suggesting more downside, and we could see a test next of the 50 DMA at about 556, which we weren't far away from at the lows yesterday. Looking at Dire, we've already seen. Let's have a look at IWM on the bigger picture. Sorry, not that one. On here. All right, let's have a look at that. And we saw an almost test of the daily middle band yesterday, break below that, and the only unbroken trend line we've got here, because obviously the trend lines are redrawn IWM and QQQ. QQQ has broken that. We haven't broken the one on IWM yet, so I'd like to see that break. That would require a move currently significantly below the daily middle band, and I've got that currently in about the 218 area. Not seeing any positive divergence here. We could definitely see that. All right, great. Let's have a look at DAX, which still hasn't retested the high. Might not be doing so in the short term. No RSI 5 sell signal here. Nikkei is reversing. We've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed here and a weak RSI 14 sell signal. No, actually, I'd probably go with a full RSI 14 sell signal. So it looks as though we're starting a retracement here. Not made a lot of progress. Short term, we don't have an obvious stopping pattern. So we'll see. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX, which has done very little since yesterday. Could be forming a little level top here. No divergence. Wondering about a test of this possible IHS neckline in the 98.5 area, just under the weekly pivot. ZB, still got a nice looking flag here, testing the weekly pivot as resistance at the moment. The week 60 minutes buy signal has reached the possible near miss target, so may not go any higher, but I'm quite liking the upside on this. So if you can get back over the weekly middle band, that opens a possible test of this wedge, bull flag megaphone resistance, and I've got that in about the 115.25 area now. Looking at ZN, we've got a nice looking falling megaphone here. Pretty good looking. We're pretty close to the test, and if these break up, then I'd be looking for a retest of this high here at the start of August, and I'd be looking at the same on ZB, and yeah, same day. All right, looking at CL. CL, we've got a little IHS here, which is broken up with a target in the 65.1 area. Thinking that might have a shot. I have been talking about a bit of a rally here the last couple of days, and we are seeing that so far. HO, I'm wondering about a test of this declining resistance currently in the 2.325 area. RBOB, we've got a little double bottom here, which wasn't looking promising to start off with, but it looks as though it'll make target that effectively as a test of the monthly pivot at 1.9884. NG, we are testing and breaking slightly the falling wedge resistance, which is already broken, of course, but we've now got a potential little double bottom. If we were to see a sustained break up over about 2.98, this would have a target, which would be in about the 310 area, I think. No, a bit higher than that. Yeah, it would be. We could get back to the monthly pivot potentially with that in 3.245 area. That would be a very nice rally target. GC, we've still got a wedge breaking up. We had a 60-minute sell signal fixed. I think that's actually reached the possible near miss target now. We could be heading straight up from here. I'll be watching a possible couple of IHS necklines. I've got one here in about 3404 area, and I've got another one here in about the 3423 area. Looking at SI, more of an impression of a flag than an actual flag, really, but I think this may be heading up towards the declining resistance, and I've got that in the 38.65 area. Palladium, wedge was broken up and then expanded, and now we're thinking about breaking up again. Waiting to see if it breaks. Platinum, we've still got a target down here, a retest of this low. Doesn't look inclined to make it so far. I am wondering if this might turn into a larger flag and get back into this resistance here in about the 1380 to 85 area at the moment. HG has broken down for a double top, from a bear flag, and that's got a target at, hang on. That's got a target of this trend line here. So you can see that's significantly below, and we've not made it yet. But waiting to see if we are going to make it. I think in due course we are likely to make it, but again, this could form a larger flag. So we will see. I'll just leave that on there as a marker for the target. Not really seeing an awful lot of interest on the currency pairs. Possible bull flag forming on GBP USD. Possible double bottom on USD JPY. Possible large double top on USD CAD, but there is an alternate bullish setup here which could be starting to break up. Australian dollar, we made the head and shoulder target here at a retest of this low. Doesn't look like it can't be realistically the second low of a double bottom, but we could see a rally here. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, and NZ went significantly lower, and I think I'm going to look at redrawing the pattern on here. Hang on, just give me a second to do that. If this is a pattern here, then the obvious next target would be the this trend line here in about the 59.80 area. But let's see. I've got a support trend line. Bear with me a moment. Maybe. No, I'm not really seeing it. We haven't got anything decent. So possibly nothing really to write home about, so I'm not going to leave that on the head for the time being. All right, KC. KC, we're still heading up towards the target in the 370 area. We've still got a possible 6-minute sell signal brewing, but that's been brewing for a couple of days. And we've gone up halfway, more than halfway of the remaining distance to this target in that time. I'm thinking that's doable in this move. SB. Still could be an inverted head and shoulders. Otherwise, we're likely headed back to a retest of this low. On CC, we've still got an open target in the 89.50 area. And I'm thinking this may well be a bull flag. We'll see. We have back tested the broken IHS neckline. Looking at CT, looks like a bullish consolidation, wondering about these targets up here and about the 69.10 and 69.60 areas. On lumber, we've got the little wedge is breaking up here, and we've now got a 60-minute buy signal fix. Looks like we should see a rally here. ZW has broken up from the falling wedge, and I'm watching the possible neckline here in about the 543 area. Corn, we've got possible neckline I'm watching here in about the 411 area. On soy, this looks like a little bullish triangle forming at the moment. That should be setting up at least a retest of this high here, just under 1050. Soybean oil, possible double bottom here. 6-minute buy signal is getting its way towards the target here without it actually moving much. Live cattle retested the high as expected. Could this be a double top? Possibly. Could just be heading higher though. Lean hogs, this still looks like some kind of a bear flag forming. All right, great. Let's have a look at questions. Bonds are setting up a lower rate expectation, yes, but you've got to remember, if we go back and get this, it may just be the second high of a double top. So I'm expecting to see higher rates, but I'm thinking we might see a retest of this first. But I'm not really seeing. There's nothing. The US government is not doing anything to reassure bondholders. They're really, really, really not. And I'm actually going to be. I might do a YouTube video about it. We have actually got an example of where there was a pliant head of the Fed who just do what he was told in the mid-70s, and that was one of the reasons that inflation held on so long in the mid-70s, because the head of the Fed just basically started playing around with the inflation figures and just excluding everything that was going up. Obviously, that didn't help. Denial. People talk about the power of positive thinking. No one ever talks about the power of denial. And that's because it hasn't got any power. We'll see. Hey, Wen, how's it going? Have you got any questions, Wen? So I've actually finished the video. Yeah, Turkey's got an example. Loads of countries have an example. If we have basically a government-controlled head of the Fed, well, that puts us back in the mid-70s, and that isn't a good example to be following. And it certainly wouldn't be good for bonds. It was terrible for bonds then. It was terrible for bond yields. All right, Wen, have you got any questions before I finish up? Because I've actually finished the main video. Nope, not seeing any. In that case, that's a wrap. I will catch everyone tomorrow, and everyone take care. All right, cheers.